A small-town police chief was shocked when he reviewed the body cam footage of one of his officers. Now you may be thinking, wait, Ashley, I thought you only shared good news. And you would be right. Welcome to the Goodish news channel. I'm Ashley, your professional pessimist. In an effort to be more optimistic, I'm bringing you news that's funny, weird, or just good-ish. A police department in Madawaska, Maine, routinely reviews random body cam footage of their officers. They were surprised by some of the footage they found on one of their officers, Paul Roy, who did a very kind act for an elderly gentleman in their community. The man had recently been released from the hospital, and Officer Roy was asked to do a well check on him. The man said that he had been taken to the hospital by ambulance, but they sent him home saying that he was not sick enough to be treated. Staff at the hospital recommended that he drink Gatorade to stay hydrated, but he was too weak to even open the bottles. He was also not feeling well enough to cook for himself. Officer Roy took matters into his own hands and made scrambled eggs and toast for the man. He also offered to call the man's landlord because it seemed that the heater was not working in the apartment and it was very cold. As of the 2020 census, Madawaska, Maine had a population of just under 3,900 residents. It's also right on the border of Canada, and as a result, 83% of the population speaks French at home. The community has a very small police department of just 10 full-time and part-time officers. Officer Roy's good deed didn't just stop with making the man some food. Roy connected the man with some resources that would greatly improve his living conditions. The man was able to move into a residence where he'll have more assistance, and it's reported that he's now receiving Meals on Wheels. Officers take an oath to serve and protect, and it's really nice to see the service aspect coming into play. It can warm even the coldest of hearts, mine included.
What's happening to me?
The London Zoo performed its annual Stocktake of all the animals in its care. Think of it as a very cute census. The zoo houses more than 10,000 animals from 400 different species, so this task is not an easy one. The western lowland gorilla, the two-toed sloth, and the simple honeybee are all residents of the zoo. The Stocktake is performed to fulfill zoological licensing requirements, but it also provides important information for breeding programs and conservation programs for endangered animals. The information is then shared worldwide with other zoos and conservation programs. The zoo had some very cute and very important additions this year. Two western lowland gorillas named Juno and Venus were born in early 2024. This is considered a massive success because the species is critically endangered. Over the past 25 years, the population of the western lowland gorilla has decreased by 60%. This is due to poaching, loss of habitat, and spread of disease. Even if these threats were removed, scientists think it would take at least 75 years for the species to recover. Another new addition at the zoo was that of the Darwin's frog. Actually, 53 Darwin's frogs. I have mixed feelings about this one. Maybe it's one of those it's so ugly it's cute situations. These frogs are native to Chile and Argentina, but a deadly fungus that I'm not even going to try to pronounce has taken a toll on the species. We're going to stick with the shortened version. Chytrid fungus. Chytrid fungus is highly infectious and often fatal. The fungus has wiped out entire species of amphibians and contributed to a worldwide decline in their populations. I'm not going to get into it, but if you want to learn how pregnancy tests contributed to the spread of this deadly fungus, just give it a Google. The Darwin's frog has experienced a 90% decline in its populations due to the spread of the chytrid fungus. So extinction could definitely be on the horizon for these little guys. The 53 frogs that arrived at the London Zoo are part of a very important effort to research chytrid fungus, find ways to mitigate it, and treat diseased frogs. While at first glance it might seem that the zoo's stocktake is a simple formality, it turns out to be really important information for breeding and conservation programs around the world. Also, if anyone knows how I can become a penguin counter at the zoo, leave it in the comments. This story takes place at the Luxor. Not that one, the real one. Archaeologists in Luxor, Egypt announced some pretty amazing finds near the temple of Queen Hatshepsut. She was one of the most fascinating pharaohs in Egyptian history. IMO. Let's dive into who Queen Hatshepsut was and why these findings are so significant. Queen Hatshepsut was one of the few women to rule Egypt, and her memory was almost entirely erased by her stepson. Hatshepsut was married to Thutmose II. He had a son with one of his other wives. Problematic, I know. The son was named, wait for it, Thutmose III. Very original. When the elder Thutmose passed away, his son was to inherit the throne. The only problem was he was 2 years old at the time. Can you imagine a 2-year-old ruling the country?
No. Monsters.
This is when Hatshepsut came into play. While she wasn't Thutmose III's biological mother, she was the great royal wife of Thutmose II. Basically, she outranked Thutmose's biological mom, who was known as the lesser wife. Ouch. So Hatshepsut became regent, and she was to run things until her stepson came of age. 7 years into her regency, she took the unusual step of making herself pharaoh. Under her reign, Egypt was actually very prosperous. The military was strong, the economy was growing, and she had all these projects going on where she employed tons of people. These people built many monuments and temples to the gods and to Hatshepsut. One of these temples was her own mortuary temple. She was supposed to be buried there, but she was actually buried in the Valley of the Kings. I know the Great Pyramid's still the spotlight, but Hatshepsut's temple is pretty dope. Hatshepsut died in 1458 BC, and it's thought that bone cancer was the culprit. Thutmose III came to power, and it was his mission to destroy everything that his stepmother had accomplished. He wanted monuments and documents connected to her to be destroyed. He even had his name inserted into documents where her name had originally appeared. Thutmose then took credit for everything that his stepmom had done during her 21-year reign. Thutmose had the records changed to show that he became pharaoh immediately after his father's death, and all of Hatshepsut's accomplishments were attributed to him. With all this being said, there's actually no evidence to show that Thutmose had any animosity towards Hatshepsut. Kinda hard to believe if you ask me, but I'm not a researcher. Historians believe that he was trying to erase the notion that a woman could be a successful pharaoh. The discovery of these artifacts in Luxor are so important because Hatshepsut was almost erased from history. Among the discoveries this week were 1,000 blocks from the foundation of her Valley Temple in Luxor. Egyptologist and leader of the current expedition, Dr. Zahi Hawass, stated, "This is the first time that we discovered 1,500 decorated blocks, the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen in my life with the color." A stone tablet was also found at the site, bearing the name of Queen Hatshepsut's architect, Sunmut. The discovery of rock-cut tombs and burial shafts with wooden coffins still inside were also announced. Bronze coins, children's toys, funerary masks, and beads were just some of the other items found in the same area. All of these items help historians piece together the story of an amazingly powerful and successful woman who was almost lost to history. If you're looking for more good news in your life, make sure you check out my video from last week where I discussed dogs that can detect cancer, a controversy that rocked the chess world, and the death of the murder hornet in the United States. Also, if you want to subscribe, I definitely wouldn't be sad about it, but only if you want to, no pressure. But it would be really awesome.